Hello everybody, I would say welcome back, but it's my first time doing one of these, so...
What's the most you ever lost on acquaintance?
If you run in any of the online circles that I do, there's a good chance you've seen this thread going around, calling No Country for Old Men a bad movie carried by sepia tone and edgy 14-year-olds. And while of course I disagree, I don't think there's anything wrong with not liking something for no particular reason at all. I dislike a bunch of shit widely considered popular and well-liked by a ton of people. If and when you do give a reason though, it has to be a good one, lest you face the waves of angry, droning fans everywhere online all of the time, which this particular Twitter user didn't really do. Her given reason was bad. She doesn't like Anton as a villain because his dumb philosophy involving the coin. If you paid attention to the movie at all though, you'd know that isn't his philosophy, it's his justification. He sees himself as an agent of fate, the same way the coin is. But at the very end of the movie, the entire section is dedicated to Carla pointing this out to him and the audience. Anton isn't an agent of fate. He chose to come to the house, he chose to flip the coin, the same way he chooses to kill people. And at the end, he gets hit by a car. He's just as much at the whims of fate as everyone he's killed is. He's not an agent of anything. He's a psychopath that kills people. And to an extent, that's also part of what the movie is about. Random, indiscriminate violence in the changing world it happens in. You don't have to like this movie. But the point of this is that if you're gonna talk about it, you better talk about it well, or at least in a way that reflects to the audience that you did at least try to engage with this piece of media. All that being said, this video is about
I'm fucking invincible!
Metal Gear Rising manages to take everything you love about mainline MGS's story and themes, this beautiful, poignant epic about war and human nature and vampires and big robots and this fucking guy, and they manage to seamlessly combine it with a Platinum Games hack and slash a la Devil May Cry. It's probably my favorite game of all time, and while I do love mainline, trust me, I would die for Kojima if they let me near him. This gameplay is just more fun, and it doesn't sacrifice the mainline story at all. It's the best of both worlds. And I think there's something beautiful about being able to tell a story like Metal Gear Solid's, with all its beautiful, poignant themes and its eccentricities, to say the least, in a silly, kind of cheesy hack and slash. When we're talking about final bosses like Armstrong from Rising, they should be two things. One is thematically relevant. As the final boss, they should be conclusive. They should have something to say about the themes or the message of the game. And two, they should be difficult. They should test every skill that the game has forced you to learn up until that point. For example, real quick, let's talk about Final Fantasy IX, the best one. At its core, Final Fantasy IX is a game about mortality, and what you do with the limited time you're given, and the main antagonist, Kuja, is an artificial being, a genome created by Garland to kill as many Gaians as possible. Kuja, throughout the entire game, sure, does kill a lot of Gaians, just the average citizen, but he also spends the entire game scheming against Garland, contriving his own plots, working against the very reason he was created. Almost acting like a child, a rebellious teenager, not only not doing what he's told, but actively pursuing his own completely separate goals. All the jargon about Gaians and Garland and whatever, not important. What is important is the themes. Kuja wasn't raised, he wasn't born, he wasn't fostered, he was created for a single purpose, a single violent purpose. You, the player, are also a genome created by the same man with your own purpose. Now somewhere along the way, you've forgotten your purpose. You lost your memory of Garland, of Terra, of all that. And when you come to rediscover this, that you're a genome, that you have no soul technically, you say no, you reject that. You remember the journey you've had with the friends you've made, and you create your own purpose, a new purpose. You live for yourself, not the wishes of some evil, mad scientist space guy. Kuja also rejects his purpose. Remember, he's scheming, he's doing his own thing. He spends the entire game working behind Garland's back. What's important here is how the two of you reject Garland's wishes. Zidane doesn't even know Garland exists for most of the game. By the time he's finally met him, Zidane has lived as a human. He knows he's gonna die, he knows he has limited time. And he spends that time having fun, living for himself, making friends, falling in love. Zidane hasn't had time to live as a genome. Kuja has. He thinks he's gonna live forever. He's an immortal beacon of death, created for one purpose. Kuja was doomed from the start to be a violent, malignant sociopath. And when he finally learns he is gonna die, Garland put an expiration date in him just like everyone else, he fucking loses it, dude. He breaks down, screaming and crying and maniacally laughing. And when you beat him, he taps into the trance, a power described as pure emotional energy, something he was literally designed without, to summon death itself, Necron, to destroy the world for the crime of existing without him. Now, I shouldn't have to point out how thematically relevant or conclusive killing death is in a game about mortality, but the takeaway here is that really good final bosses have something to say. They have something to tell or show the player about the message it's trying to impart. And if we look at
I have a dream.
He absolutely meets both criteria. It is the perfect final boss fight because 1, it is brutally difficult. If you have not mastered this game's mechanics, you're not getting anywhere. And 2, it is thematically the most conclusive a game like this can get. Metal Gear Rising asks us, the player, a question. It asks us, why do we go to war? And every boss is an answer to that question. Mistral is a sense of found purpose in conflict. Sundowner has a yes, hilarious, but also childish obsession with violence. Monsoon has surrendered himself to abject nihilism, and every time Raiden's confronted with these reasonings, he defeats them, like you the player defeat the boss. By beating the boss physically, you also rhetorically beat their argument. Raiden either provides a rebuttal or at the very least a refusal for their reasonings to go to war. And Armstrong, being the final boss, is also the final boss of these themes. Armstrong is war as a business. I don't have to tell you the war economy and the military-industrial complex is real, and if I do, you probably didn't understand Metal Gear Solid in the first place.
I just hope I just hope they don't remake it and make it political, you know?
Wars are very profitable for PMCs like Armstrong's very own Desperado LLC, so it's a money thing. Armstrong faked an attack in Pakistan that spilled American blood so he could justify a war and jumpstart the economy. And it would jumpstart the economy. The War on Terror set the stage for exponential increases in the Pentagon's budget. The post-9/11 frenzy and subsequent war in Afghanistan led to an over-reliance on private contractors and corporations, and has, at least at the time of writing, totaled over $14 trillion in Pentagon spending, roughly half of which went to defense contractors. For scale here, the US military spending increase between 2002 and 2003 was more than the entire military budget of any other country, including major powers like China, Russia, the UK, Germany, and France. In the 20 years since 9/11, $4.4 trillion have gone to just 5 weapons contractors. The $75 billion in Pentagon contracts for Lockheed Martin in 2022 is over 1.5 times the entire budget for the State Department and the Agency for International Development. There's no economy quite like it. Arms manufacturers, private security contracting, PMCs earn trillions funding America's warmongering. It makes sense for the final boss to be the embodiment of war as a business. It's a big business, and the biggest reason we go to war.
If it isn't Saucy Jack. Just a little too late, as usual. Armstrong! Impressive little toy you've got there. But your plan ends here. Idiot! You're not ending our plan. You're expanding it. Check the internet lately.
Raiden, Air Force One is turning back to the States.
What? How'd they know?
Someone posted photos of what's happening on the base. The whole world is up in arms.
Show me. How did they? Literally. Then Marshall's plan is ruined.
The hell it is. Look what they're saying. The story just went live, and already they're calling for blood.
But the president was saved. And yet American blood was spilled. By Americans. Besides, a few dozen soldiers is tragic, but nothing to start a major war over. That's just a spark, son. The excuse we've been waiting for. America's wanted this war for years. The Patriots, they knew war was good for the economy. 4 years later, their legacy lingers on. The memes. They left us their great isms. Nationalism, unilateralism, materialism. Welcome maxims for those with no faith, without guiding principles of their own. Give yourself up to the whole. No need to better yourself. You're American. You're number one. Then the only value left is dollar value. The economy. So we'll do whatever it takes to keep it humming along. Even war. Especially war. Bullshit! The Patriots planted the seed. We don't need them around to filter and foster their memes any longer. We're spreading them just fine ourselves. Every American man, woman, and child. We're all sons of a Patriots now! We just need something to jumpstart the economy out of this funk. This recession it's been stuck in since the fall of SOP. And the military costs? Wasting billions is going to help the economy? DMCs, arms manufacturers, job creators, Jack. All those workers spending money, paying taxes. Trust me, a little war can work wonders. So grease the gears with some innocent blood, is that it? Oh, relax, Jack. It's a war on terror. We're not out to kill civilians. Extremists, lawless gangs, madmen. Of course, that would have to include you. Wouldn't want any eyewitness reports complicating the message.
Okay, so what does his theme song, at least his first one, and Phase 1 tell us about Armstrong? So the first thing is that this pisses him off. Right, when he's talking about the American standard and the economy and unilateralism and nationalism, he's saying it in a really, for lack of a better word, bitchy tone. It's safe to assume his endorsement is wholly ironic. There is very clearly something deeper going on here that we haven't been clued into yet. Now, keep all of this in the back of your mind while we discuss the music of Metal Gear Rising. Now, yes, the music is a kick-ass rock album, but it also provides us insights into the characters that don't get much screen time, but are still plot relevant. It tells us about their beliefs, their thoughts, their plans. And Armstrong is much the same, the only difference being his first theme song, the one we get while fighting Metal Gear Excelsis, is from the perspective of Raiden. It's his thoughts on the man he's currently confronted with. Okay, so Phase 1's done, what do we know? Well, from his speech, we can gather his reasonings are economic. He's starting a war to jumpstart the economy. Pretty simple. From his theme song, we can gather Raiden views this man as, well, a politician. A greedy, money-hungry sociopath who wants complete dominance over the collective consciousness of Americans. He's comically evil, that's why Raiden has to kill him. Just like every other boss, he rejects his reason for war. Something interesting happens. Armstrong gives us another reason for war. He's been lying to us, and his real reason, the one he's going to explain right after, necessitates another fight happen. We've rejected the first reason, and we've beaten him in the fight. So now, we need a Phase 2.
What? Nice. Typical politician. Big promises, but all talk. What? Jumpstart the economy? What a load of bullshit! All you care about is lining your own pockets. That and your approval ratings. You've got no principles. Just like all the rest. If America's gone to shit, you're just another maggot crawling in the pile. All right, the truth then. You're right about one thing. I do need capital and votes. Want to know why? I have a dream. What? That one day, every person in this nation will control their own destiny. A land of the truly free, damn it. A nation of action, not words, ruled by strength, not committee. Where the law changes to suit the individual, not the other way around. Where power and justice are back where they belong. In the hands of the people! Where every man is free to think, to act for himself! Fuck all these lunatic lawyers and chicken shit bureaucrats! Fuck this 24/7 internet spew of trivia and celebrity bullshit! Fuck American pride! Fuck the media! Fuck all of it! America is diseased, rotten to the core. There's no saving it. We need to pull it out by the roots. Wipe the slate clean. Burn it down! And from the ashes, a new America will be born. Evolved, but unchanged. The weak will be purged. And the strongest will thrive. Free to live as they see fit. They'll make America great again! What the hell are you talking about? You still don't get it. I'm using war as a business to get elected! So I can end war as a business. In my new America, people will die and kill for what they believe! Not for money, not for oil! Not for what they're told is right. Every man will be free to fight his own wars! So, what do you think? How the hell did you get elected? Well, I don't write my own speeches. You should try fighting for what you believe in sometime, Jack. Not for a company or a nation or for anyone else. Maybe I was wrong about you. Am I finally getting through? I'll rid this world of pointless wars, Jack. I was wrong. You're not greedy. You're batshit insane! Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't fret over every egg. Not when you're purging the weak, right? What do you know about the weak? You weren't born poor. You've never been hungry. You don't know what it's like to fight and steal and kill just to survive. But you did survive! Through sheer force of will, following your own set of rules. With your own two hands, you took back your life. And now, I'll take yours.
This is the best monologue of all time, and I will never concede on that. It is fucking ridiculous. It is hammy, it's cheesy, it's over the top, and it fits just perfectly in this game. This moment right here is what sold me completely on the character. It is perfect. Literally no notes. Everything, down to the last detail, both just feels like it fits the character, and also succeeds in showing off all of his character traits. He is a politician, he's a captivating speaker, and yet what sets him apart from real-life politicians is that you like the guy. You can tell he believes in everything he's saying. And for as much as I will defend this speech to the death, it is also unfortunately where I think people get this character wrong. Everyone, me included, admittedly, is so caught up with the theatrics that sometimes they forget to actually listen to what he's saying. Because what he lays out here is a pretty ingenious, well-written villain monologue. There's a lot to chew on there if you're willing to look just a little bit deeper than the surface. And unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people do.
Okay, let's see here. But he doesn't have good intentions. Saying fuck the poor isn't a good intention or a good point. It's just cruelty against people who can't defend themselves. So no, he's not an anti-villain, he's just a villain. He was crazy. I doubt he had any kind of actual thought-out long-term goals. Yeah, he did not seem like the most coherent person in the world, and he was fist-fighting a ninja robot and his dog on top of a Metal Gear.
Okay, I'm not fucking reading all this. Writing like this, hates politicians. His intentions during his presidency, however, would destroy the government and reduce America to a Mad Max-esque wasteland where everyone fights for the reasons of their own, stamping out anyone weak in will and strength as a result. Holy shit.
Senator Armstrong was a psychopathic anarchist. He wanted to create a world where the only check on action is physical force.
Okay, lightning round. 1. No, Armstrong never says fuck the poor. If anything, his spiritual war against the morally bankrupt would apply far more to the rich and powerful. Think about it, who is he shitting on in his speech? The politicians, the lawyers, the media, those that are 1. Often driven by profit over personal conviction, and 2. Definitely not poor. It's fine to just enjoy things on a surface level, but saying he didn't have a long-term, thought-out goal is insane. He just laid it out for you. Okay, so when Armstrong says everyone is free to fight their own wars, and I don't think I have to say this, he doesn't mean literal wars, like with nukes and shit. He means everyone has the freedom to fight for something they believe in. He's not saying go out and kill your neighbor. He's saying if there's a cause you believe in strong enough to fight for, you can do that now. That's the kind of person he talks about when he's describing the strong and what his definition of strength is. He's never rallying for a literal purge on weak people. He's saying we need to remove those without conviction and those that didn't work for their power out of positions of authority. If he just wanted to kill people he didn't like, he wouldn't need to be president for that. The only way his plan makes sense is if after he takes power and after he rebuilds America, he sets up some sort of system of checks and balances to keep those people out of positions of authority again. Okay, and last one, psychopathic, maybe? Anarchist, obviously not. Everything about him is screaming libertarian. His tie is yellow, dude. Sure, the level of individual freedom he's talking about is like a lot, even by libertarian standards. Far from anarchist. This is a video by the Vile Eye. It's part of his Analyzing Evil series, where he takes a villain and dissects them, talks about their motives, their goals, their plans, their strengths, their weaknesses. Every now and again, you'll see a comment either correcting something in the video or adding some additional context or expanding on a point. I'm not saying this to make fun of him, I'm saying this because this video is no different. In it, he says this.
What Armstrong has in mind for America might seem like a pretty smart idea, but that's only when you take what he's for and what he's against at face value. Yes, the media, the government, and everything and everyone else in between have their own narratives they're trying to push, and those narratives end up harming people's lives. And tying in these facts with any given solution might make you think, yeah, this guy's got a point, doesn't he? Sure, he does have a point, but it's a pretty terrible point to make. What Armstrong is advocating here is imposing social Darwinism, which is essentially natural selection applied to human society, and anarchist capitalist principles, which is essentially anarchism with allowances made for corporations and other big business entities, onto the American populace to promote the most extreme form of individualism that you could possibly imagine. And even that might sound fine enough to the uninitiated. As what's so bad about giving the power back to the individual? Well, giving more power to the individual isn't necessarily a bad thing, but social Darwinism and anarchy, especially when taken to the extremes that Armstrong is talking about, certainly are. In Armstrong's America, the strong would take whatever they wanted, when they wanted, for any reason they might have, simply because they can. And for the weak who lack the will and determination to make themselves strong, well, they're shit out of luck. What this pretty much boils down to is that anyone who's physically gifted, intellectually gifted, well-connected, or wealthy will become a god in this new America, and everyone else will perish in the wake of their ambitions. But not only will the weak suffer, but the strong as well, because the strong will inevitably have to fight others with strength and eliminate them to fortify or defend their positions. Whoever has the most money will win, because they are by default the strongest, and laws will change to suit their needs. Whoever have the biggest muscles and the biggest arsenals will be hired by the people with the most money, and they'll win too. If you eliminate current corporations and the media, all those people who previously had power through those means will grab power once again by spending all their money to take whatever they want from everyone else, by force, subterfuge, or manipulation.
So my first problem here is he assumes Armstrong is some sort of anarcho-capitalist. While libertarianism and anarcho-capitalism in the real world absolutely do have parallels and similarities, Armstrong nowhere discusses his economic policy or even his economic beliefs outside of the fact that he rallies against war for profit. That's the only mention of money he really makes in his speech. And then of course his ultimate point being that privileging those with hard work ethic and strong will and determination would end up just privileging the elite anyway, those with money and connections or those that are physically or mentally gifted. I disagree for two reasons. One, it assumes that those with money and good connections and physical or mental gifts are hard workers, that by default they just work the hardest, they have the biggest will or whatever. And that's just not true. The people Armstrong rallies against are the ones with power, the ones that are already making those decisions for the people. Clearly, Armstrong doesn't believe this. He disagrees with the Vile Eye. Those with the money and the connections, the ones that are already in power, don't have a strong will, they don't have a good work ethic, and they don't deserve the power they have. And my second rebuttal is that how can we be sure Armstrong won't keep systems in place to keep those without strong will or conviction out of power? If his plan was just to kill them all, again, he wouldn't need the presidency. He would only need the presidency to reshape the structure of America, the government and its positions, which is why, at least I believe, it's safe to assume that his plan goes beyond just a simple, literal purging of the weak. It's a restructuring. It's a retooling of the American system to benefit those that he thinks deserve it, and to keep those that don't deserve it out of power. Now, mind you, everything I've said here is taking Armstrong's word as truth. We're taking what he's saying to us as true, we're assuming that he means everything he says. At least my rationale for that is that he's already lied to us about his plan. When he says, okay, the truth then, I think it's safe to assume it's actually the truth and not just another lie. You don't have to believe him, and it's perfectly reasonable not to, but not believing him and then talking about his plan is kind of just speaking on a hypothetical at best.
You agree with Armstrong, I do not agree with Armstrong. Raiden is right, and Armstrong is insane. You dream of a world where weak people are purged, and only the strong survive!
First, let's look at what we don't really need to dive into, what he just comes out and says to us. Armstrong is first and foremost a patriot, not the AI. He isn't fighting to destroy a country he hates. He's fighting to tear down a system that has poisoned a country he has fallen out of love with. He wants to make America great again. He believes there was some form of American exceptionalism worth returning to. Secondly, Armstrong hates consumerism. He identifies consumerism as a cheap distraction used to placate the majority to the real issues plaguing the world of Metal Gear Solid. He loathes that the American identity he oh so loves has been cheapened and commodified, bastardized and sold back to the people as something that, at least he believes, it isn't. What America actually stands for and what the American identity really is at its core values isn't really what we're going to discuss here. That's for people way more qualified than me to talk about. What's important is that Armstrong thinks there is something there worth fixing. The last clearly identifiable characteristic is, he's a libertarian. He puts heavy emphasis on individual freedoms and rights and liberties, and he's just dripping with contempt for the bureaucratic process. Alright, now, what do we have to think about? Where does everyone get this guy just so wrong? People misapply this label. Armstrong is only a social Darwinist in the loosest definition of the term. Social Darwinism, it's a very loose ideology. It doesn't really have a set definition. How people define the strong and the weak varies wildly, including with Armstrong. The quote-unquote strong should see to the benefits of society, power and money, and they should be the leaders and the decision makers. And it doesn't really fit with what Armstrong's saying. If you take it at a surface level, yes, okay? He talks about the strong and the weak a lot, and purging the weak. But let's think about this. Let's look at what he's actually saying here. Here is where we have to talk about what constitutes weak, at least to Armstrong. Armstrong defines the weak in terms of belief. Armstrong hates the convictionless, directionless, morally weak. In a world where money literally buys power like a nanomachine-infused muscles, it doesn't make sense for a character like Armstrong to be referring to literal strength. He's been shitting on blind profit incentive this entire time. It's clear Armstrong believes in the individual. He wants to give power back to the people. It wouldn't make sense for that power to just go back to the ruling class, especially when he unquestioningly stands against everything they're for. Who does Armstrong criticize the most? Bureaucrats, politicians, lawyers, those without will or individuality. Armstrong's strong is just those with a strong will or belief to guide them. It's why he likes Raiden. Raiden is his own man, not defined by his circumstances. He defines himself, at least in Rising, by what he stands for. Raiden's definition of the weak is the material, physically weak, the economically and socially disenfranchised, those without representation or power. He himself, as a child soldier, used to fit this definition. It's why he drones on and on about protecting the weak. Raiden's weakness is something Armstrong has never had to experience. He views this whole thing from the top-down perspective of a bougie politician. So when Armstrong talks about purging the weak, Raiden can't allow that, because Raiden defines what weak is differently. Armstrong likes Raiden. Raiden's a self-made man. He represents everything Armstrong stands for. He claims that Raiden is one of the strong, which, while true in both definitions at least now, completely sidesteps the accusation. Armstrong has no right to define what's weak when he's never been weak by either of their definitions. What we have here are two characters that don't have valid rebuttals to each other. Armstrong wants to purge his country of corruption and destroy the war economy. Noble goals, sure, but he's using war to do that. His methods will kill millions, and he's never had to live the life of those that would be effective, which is exactly why they have to fight. Raiden has lived that life. He knows exactly who would be affected and how bad it would be. When we were discussing the themes of some of the bosses earlier, I made a reference to the fact that when you beat them, Raiden also offers a rebuttal, or at the very least, a refusal of their ideologies, of their reason to go to war. That doesn't happen here. They both don't have an adequate answer for each other. They're both hypocrites in their own right, which is why the boss fight doesn't end after Phase 2. We get an Act 3.
Well done, Jack. Your dream dies with you. Oh, maybe not. You've guaranteed the status quo will go on. For a while longer, at least. War will continue as an institution, as an industry. Men will fight for reasons they don't understand. Causes they don't believe in. But at least I'll leave a worthy successor. You, Jack. You carve your own path. Use whatever methods you see fit. You don't let legal bullshit get in the way. And if it costs a few lives, so be it. Inside, we're kindred spirits. You and I.
Here, something beautiful happens, and something you don't see a lot in video games. They come to an understanding. Raiden abandons his facade of protecting the weak. He sees a dangerous man that needs to be stopped, and he goes in for the kill. Raiden, much like Armstrong, takes the law into his own hands. He carves his own path. That's something Armstrong respects. Raiden, in turn, recognizes that Armstrong's goals are noble. The dismantling of the war economy is something to be worked toward. It's a noble ends. So why are they fighting? Why does Raiden kill Armstrong at the end? Well, he's wrong, right? He's a hypocrite, utilizing the system and all of its flaws that he claims to hate for personal gain. And while yes, the ends to that personal gain is dismantling the system, he's still perpetuating it. He wants to fight it, but participates in it, and this isn't a "you hate society" yet case. He is starting a war that wouldn't exist without him for money and votes. In many ways, Raiden's initial view of Armstrong is correct. He was born into power, and his admittedly flimsy definition of the weak was born from a perspective that has only ever viewed things from privilege. What Raiden acquiesced, though, is Armstrong's philosophy, something even Armstrong recognizes and means the players see in the epilogue. Armstrong had noble intentions. Beliefs, maybe not goals, but noble ideas. The elimination of corruption and the dismantling of the war economy are almost universally understood positives, which is why they come to an understanding. It's why Raiden, at the end of the game in the epilogue, takes up Armstrong's fight. Armstrong is a hardcore anti-government individualist. He loathes the erasure of the individual by the shallow, privileged, and corporate elite. Men will fight for reasons they don't understand and causes they don't believe in. The fires of greed will burn the weak. He has good intentions and captivating speeches. He wants the new generation of Americans to be stronger, not literally. He wants them to grab life by the balls, fight their own wars. Not for money, not for oil,
Not for what they're told is right. Every man will be free to fight his own wars!
Hi, welcome to the end of the video where I don't know, I talk a little bit more casually. Just because sometimes it's good to just sort of like stream of consciousness ramble, right? I'm making this video because it's like, I don't know, I feel like I see a lot of like, not just like bad opinions, but like mishandled almost, you know, where they give an opinion, sure, and it's like, I don't like calling opinions wrong, but they give a read on a character that's just so bafflingly not true. Well, it's not even like it's like I disagree with it. It's like it's provably false, right? And again, I don't like being like objective about opinions, but it's like when you see something where it's like, oh, Armstrong hates poor people. It's like, how did you get that, right? Fuck, I don't know. Because it's like, did you play the game? Is that like a thing you did? Because if you didn't, you shouldn't be giving your opinion on it. Like, what are the odds these people have actually played Metal Gear Rising? And not just, I don't know, seen like a couple memes and like thought the fucking omelet line was funny? And I don't know. Because it's like, how do you get that read on the character? He's pretty explicit in what he wants and what he believes. It shouldn't be hard to like read into that a little. Like, even just going off the surface level of what he's saying he wants, I feel like that's not a take that you can get. And sort of as like a general, just sort of overview, not overview, but sort of like a general statement. It's like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people online, when they talk about something, haven't bothered to watch it or read it or play it or whatever the fuck. Like, there's a lot of that, I feel like the intro, right? It's sort of like a general segue, whatever the fuck, into just sort of general bad analysis. And like, you can analyze things bad and not be like confoundingly wrong, right? Like, there are times where you can see something or like grab something someone else said and sort of like interpret that in a bit of like a strange way that's kind of like, I don't know. But it's like saying he fucking hates like poor people, or he's just like, he doesn't have a plan at all. It's like, what? Did you did you play the game? I get like, I don't know. I feel like I had to make I had to make a video, I feel like, because it's like, this isn't something I'm gonna rant for however long this fucking video's gotten, like 40 minutes. It's like a friend in VC, right? No one's gonna just sit around that long and deal with that. It is my first video though, and I do have sort of this kind of general, like, long form thought about a lot of topics, so I might make more. I did enjoy the process. You know, I like the editing. I did get sick at one point when doing the audio, and I also bought a new mic, and then also like fixed problems with that mic, so there's a lot of different sounding me's in this fucking mess. So, you know, won't have that problem next time. But yeah, I did like it. I did like the process. Maybe a little too much of it was just like showing like the cutscenes. But again, you know, I feel like I have to, because like, at least when like the viewer, I don't know, you, I guess, like watches it, it's like you agree, right? I don't know, maybe you don't. But it's like all those opinions I showed, like, I'm sure you can tell also don't like make sense, at least to some degree. I did also get a de-esser plugin for Audacity, because I hiss my S's. So sometimes it might sound a little, you know, sort of speech impediment th, but you know, hopefully all that technical stuff will have kind of sorted out by the next time, whenever I decide what that topic's gonna be that I'm gonna rant about for an hour. But let me know how this one came out. I don't know, I might be wrong, right? It's entirely possible I'm wrong, considering how the popular other reads on Armstrong are, but I don't know, I feel like I'm not. I mean, I hope not, otherwise why make the fucking video? But, I don't know, maybe I'm just being pretentious, you know? It's, where it's like, you're wrong, I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? That's why the cutscenes are there. I have some very, technical savvy friends, so, I'm sure they'd be willing to help with, some of my, audio fuckery. Other than that, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments how I did. See y'all later.